Matthew chapter 18.
All right.
Okay. Turn, become as little children, humble himself. They're all actions that they're all like actionable words, which seems backwards. Become as little children, humble yourself.
How do they seem backward?
Turn. It's like a assertion to revert or something, I guess.
Yeah.
Like a willful reversion.
Yeah. The scripture never says, I will humble you. God does humble us. But when it comes to our way of living life, the scripture says we humble ourselves. The whole idea there is we were born naturally, and we were grown to do things our way and to think of ourselves as self-entitled and having rights and being powerful and mighty. And he says, if you want to follow me, humble yourself. Be like a little child. What is a little child like? Help me. And it's to be broken and down and to change the way you turn from the former way of the man Ubermensch and turn to being broken before me, and you do it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, like in the next verses, it says, whoso shall receive one such little child in my name receiveth me. Whoso shall cause one of these to stumble, it's profitable for him to die, basically. I guess I felt like because this idea of becoming like a child and that a child can be stumbled, it meant to me that becoming like a child is like maintaining a level of curiosity or open-mindedness, because that can be stumbled. Like, what are the qualities of a child that can be stumbled, basically?
Well, I think that the qualities of a child that he's talking about that can be stumbled are they can be misled, they can be harmed, they can be molested. That's how they can be stumbled. That's what I think he's saying. Yeah, harmed. Stumbled is harmed there.
Okay.
Tripped up.
Okay, I'm gonna have to edit this one. Sorry, I'm my charger. I don't want my computer to die. Sorry, Dad.
Okay.
All right. Sorry. Okay. So a child being harmed. Yeah, like what you're saying, molested, harmed, whatever. Those are all like expository things, which implies there's like, an ignorance that's broken. So becoming as a child feels like maintaining some sort of ignorance. Is that a weird and dark way?
Maybe not maintaining, but returning to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we become very carnal as human beings.
Yeah. It's not ignorance in a bad way.
Right.
I don't mean it that I just didn't have another word for it. Yeah. Like hopeful or something is a better word for it.
Jesus says, hey, the children of this world are smarter than the children of the kingdom. He's telling you to disabuse yourselves of all your intellectual knowledge and everything else and become like a child.
Yeah, like stumbling a child here. If you become a child, make yourself like a child, humble yourself, and someone stumbles you, my impression of that is they are like bringing in a knowledge that isn't needed.
Yeah.
Sort of like
a good
maturing a
interpretation.
kid too quickly.
Sure, that, anything. But he's talking about in the spiritual sense. But
Right.
yeah.
But yeah, so it's like emphasizing a knowledge that is true, like it's true of this world.
Oh yeah.
They're real,
Right.
but like not to humble yourself and become as a little child is to not put the emphasis on them.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And just remember, going all the way back to the garden, which answers so many things in terms of interpretation, the knowledge of the tree that was forbidden them was of good and evil, of good. So you can have all kinds of good knowledge here, but it says if you eat of it, you'll die. It leads to death. So the eating from the tree of life takes you back to that childlike state, and you don't become stumbled by the things that can trip you up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Is there a way to acquire good and evil, knowledge of good and evil now without it stumbling you?
Well, we have to, being in the human race, it's what you eat of, what you make your diet of. Because we have to learn how to drive a bus, and fill it with gas. But you fill yourself and feed yourself on that, and you wait anxiously to be changed.
Okay. Well, I wanted to just emphasize more, what does it even mean to stumble? Because he keeps going on. Woe unto the world because of occasions of stumbling, for it must needs be, but woe to the man when it comes.
It's radical, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel it's like kind of very applicable to me right now. I feel like this idea,
Good.
like pursuing. Yeah, there's a tricky thing because, like, what about test all things and like challenging and
That test all things really, I mean, if you're a literalist, you would test everything. I'm going to go test
Yeah.
heroin.
yeah.
But in the biblical context, it's test all presentations.
Tonkas.
Now you know what my children have been raised with, because this is how I am always. But
Tonkas.
yeah, you test all things spiritually. I want to tell you that Jesus is a girl who was a lesbian. All right, I'll hear it. Let me test it. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Okay. All right. See that ye despise not one of these little ones, for I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of
Father's face.
Yeah.
Isn't that's a radical one?
Yeah, like what the idea of angels at all, the relation to the Father's face.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, there's a heavenly economy that is as different as mammals are to sea creatures. Okay. The heavenly economy are not human, and they serve God in this heavenly realm. And that he seems to imply there that we have personal angels. So if you look at It's a Wonderful Life, the movie, he has an angel. It's his personal angel, and he's trying to get his wings. So that's the idea. I believe it. I believe we have an angel assigned to us. He's saying that for children, their angels actually have access to the Father. That's how
Children meaning people like believers who make themselves children.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Move your knee. You're bugging me.
I read it that it could be like that, for I say unto you that in heaven their angels.
Yeah.
So like the spirit of them up there, like not angels of theirs.
Yeah, it's possible you could read it that way, and that would confirm people who deny angelic helps would say they're angels. But the word is angelos there, and it means they're messengers. So I think it means more than I think he would have said they're suke or they're pneuma, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
He says they're angelos.
You for sure know that's angelos right there.
Yeah, look it up.
I just am amazed when you know which one's which.
Yeah. Oh, I don't always.
Okay. If thy brother sin against thee, go show him his fault. I had to write out the verses as I went because these are really heavy chapters.
Yeah, he can get heavy.
So forgive me for reading them. But he says brother. He refers to brother. Thou hast gained thy brother. If he hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. if he doesn't hear you, bring 2 witnesses. If he doesn't hear you, then bring the church. I assume that's like a really gnarly set of things for church today. But the idea of brother and church there.
Oh my gosh, Delaney, this what you're talking about right here is definitive in how we are different than Christians. Okay. In the Old Testament, the word for church there's 3 words in the Hebrew, and it's used more there than it's used in what we call the New Testament.
There's 3 words in Hebrew.
Yeah, that talk about the congregation, the synagogue, and in the Greek it's ecclesia. Okay?
Ecclesia.
Right. So I've asked you before, does Jesus, his message is to who?
Jews.
Right. Jews only, right?
Jews only.
Yeah. So he says there, if you have a brother, and that means a brother who's in Judaism, who offends you, go to him. What church is he talking about there?
A brother, a Jewish brother.
That's right. He's talking about the ecclesia, the called out, the congregation of the Jews. Now, churches today take that and they think he's talking about a church later, and he's instructing them of what that should look like. And perhaps he is, but says, my message is to the Jews. He's talking to Jews. The context of this is Jews. And he says, listen, this is what you do. If your brother offends you, you go to him, and then bring the elders of the congregation of the Jews, and then have them decide who was his message to them. So you cannot extract that and assign it to church today is my whole point. Okay.
I mean, it's a big point.
It is a huge, long studied point.
Yeah. If you refuse to hear the church also, let him be unto thee as the Gentile and the publican.
That's right. So that helps
That's
support
another,
him.
it like distinguishes.
Yeah, he says, I'm not even talking to those dirty folks. I'm talking to you.
That's crazy.
Yes. Why? And here's the key to everything I just said. What he was doing was starting the true church that the gates of hell would not prevail against amidst his brethren. And that was the church that he's giving instruction for of how it was to exist. Later, they would include Gentiles, right? But that was until 70 AD. All of this is for that little church that Jesus said the gates of hell will not prevail against. Christians today think it's talking about today. It's not. It's talking about this is what you do in my little church from the Jews. And if they don't follow what I'm saying, treat them like Gentiles.
That is so insane.
Isn't that great?
What? Yeah, I have a lot of questions on what his actual application to Gentiles then is, but
it comes up in his talking sometimes, and we're going to meet a Syrophoenician woman who is a Gentile, and he will engage with her, and you'll see exactly how that works when we come to that story. But his whole thing was Old Testament church, God said, I'm divorcing you. Okay? When they didn't accept their Messiah and his New Testament church, which that's the church. Okay, that's the bride. We're not the bride. We're not the church. They were. We're part of God's kingdom.
We reap benefits of the bride.
Yeah. They set all this up. They did all this. They gave their lives for it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's heavy.
That's a very specific set of passages that really support what you've been talking about.
Blows the minds of you if you can hear it, but people can't hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it when I came across that one.
Awesome. Good discerning reading.
No.
You're testing all things.
Yeah. Again, I say unto you that if 2 of you on earth shall agree as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father who's in heaven. This sounds like he's saying it only to the disciples.
He is.
I wrote.
Yeah, and so people will read that today and say, I can ask him. Look at the context.
Yeah.
He's talking to his trained disciples for his church in that day before he came and rescued her as promised.
Yeah. But then for when 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I'm there in the midst of them.
I take that as a principle that is still true, but that's my choice. See? You get it? Yeah, I mean...
But it's their choice to take this as true.
Right. Yeah. Right. Everything's a choice. So it's by the Spirit, seekers will discover it.
Well, I only have one more question for this one. We have
All right.
4 minutes left.
Good.
Therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened unto a certain king who would make reckoning with his servants. In the long parable.
Oh my God, it's the most important parable of all time. It is the most important.
I'm
parable
not.
he shares.
Yeah, I'm not brushing over it.
So
I'm bringing it up.
Let me explain it to you. Do you understand it?
I understand. I mean, I understand it.
Okay, who's the king? In the parable.
Okay, the king is God.
That's right. Who's his son?
Who's his son is Jesus.
Right. Okay, and the king is going to have a wedding for his son. To who? The bride of believers. That's what Jesus is describing there.
I don't think that's what's being told here.
You'll see. Just hang with me. This is in context of all. Oh, wait.
I don't think it's that parable.
Oh, what is it?
I think it's the king with the servant. He forgives the servant of his debt.
Wrong one. Sorry.
I was like, did I read that totally
wrong? Sorry. I got all excited because of this parable we'll get to. Good. It's a good bait. Get people keep watching.
This one's really
significant. This one's insane.
Too.
Yeah. Share it. What's the question?
Not much of a question, just to point this out, that it directly talks about, therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened unto a king, and then he tells this parable. So like, I just, by the transitive property, feel like the kingdom of heaven is this story, which is forgiveness.
That's right.
The kingdom of heaven is forgiveness.
That's right. And Jesus plainly says, if you don't forgive, I won't forgive you. Or he says, my Father won't forgive you.
And what is forgiveness's relationship to love? Like, it seems like they'd be one and the same.
It's an expression of the same.
But there's more to love than just forgiveness.
Well, I mean, forgiveness embodies love because you're selflessly, sacrificially, insufferably forgiving someone who's harmed you. And you're not doing it because they've earned it. You're doing it because they don't deserve it.
You're putting down your pride.
Yes,
when it's
becoming like a little child.
Which is a form of forgiveness.
Yes.
Because you could be proud.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Yes. Forgiveness, if you want to know the maturity level of somebody in the faith, see if they forgive all people of all things all the time. That's a maturity level of guilt. Because when they say, oh, this happened, but I don't forgive them, they need to grow still.
That's thinking of love as forgiveness couches it differently for me.
Tell me how.
It's like, it's more like reactive than active. Like, love feels to me like you go out and like assert love onto people, but forgiveness is expressing love in the face of a thing that's happened to you.
Okay. And I guess those are kind of the same side of the different side of the same coin.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
yeah.
And I get those differences.
It just like makes me think of it a little differently.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
Define different,
yeah.
But, I'm sorry it wasn't the parable you wanted.
Oh, I can't wait till we get to that one. That's a great one too.
This is a great one.
Yeah, they're all great. Except a couple you're just not going to get.
Fish and shekel in the fish's mouth.
I love this so much, and it's a half shekel.
Double tax.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well that's it for this one. On to 19.
All right.